I think we're it. This is it. Welcome, everybody. It is week 13 of Confidence Strategies 101. I'm Carmen Milagro, and of course, we have a great show for you today. I'm a confidence strategist, a CBD educator, as well as an entrepreneur. I can't talk today, and I haven't even had anything to drink, as well as an entrepreneurist and a behavioral coach. This week, we're creating a dialogue with our special guest, whose identity will soon be revealed. And we're tackling the burning question of what's happening to entertainment, live music, restaurants and bars, what's happening in the scene in this new era of COVID-19. So we are inviting you to engage and comment, like and share this video if you're so inclined. Of course, the co-host for Confidence Strategies 101, sharing the screen with me as always, at least this week, it's Mauricio Mejia.
Yes. How is everybody? How can you hear me out there? We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. No, wonderful. Yes. By the way, first, before we go into anything, happy birthday. It's your birthday today. And,
it is. Thank you.
We're excited. We're, to be sharing this moment with you and, with everyone that's going to be jumping on board. So happy birthday. I must feel good to be forever 29 and so forth. So I'm excited. I'm excited about who we're bringing on board. I think that it was perfect timing, especially with today's shutdown or going backwards now with the governor's new rules of shutting everything down again. So it's going to be it's interesting to have this conversation and see the amount of effects that it has on our economy and on the world right now, because it's this is something that's affecting thousands and thousands of people, especially right now when it's just a crazy time. So I'm excited. I think we're gonna have a great conversation, and we might even go longer than expected. So let's bring it on. So go ahead.
Well, that we have one purpose. We want to share positive ideas and solution-oriented discussions. So that's what we're going to try to do. We may not have all the answers. We may not have any at all. But the fact of the matter is that we're bringing, we're using technology and we're bringing these conversations and hopefully getting input and engagement. And so without further ado, let's welcome today's guest. He's our friend. He's an entertainment expert. He's the founder of Jaffe Events, who happens to be a pioneer producer and promoter of crossover Latin music events with the urban music in San Francisco. Jaffe Events specializes in combining traditional Latin bands with modern crossover artists and DJs in the nightclub environments and concert halls throughout the city. Of course, things have changed, but without further ado, we want to go ahead and welcome Adrian Goddard. Adrian, hola, ¿qué tal?
Happy birthday, Carmen. Salud.
Cheers. I went and put a cocktail together for myself. So
perfect timing for happy hour.
I did a little concoction. So I have a sponsor that sponsors my show every week, Juice Alive, and they gave me one's called this one's called I'm Charmed, and I mixed it with some rum, and so now we got some.
Well,
we got some healthy juices with a little alcohol to kill some virus, and now we're good to go.
Rum is music to my ears, Mauricio.
Yes.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on your show. I've known both of you, I think, over 20 years at least. You guys always put a smile on my face. It's nice that we can have a nice conversation about what's going on. The difficult times, but we got to be positive, and see how we can get out of them, because I think this is going to last a little bit longer than we all hoped it would last.
I think you're right. We were having this discussion a little bit back in the green room, but before we get to that, I was hoping that we could sort of give other people sort of a little bit of your background, Adrian. I know if you could share with everyone who's watching where you were born, where you grew up, who fostered your sense of self-esteem and self-confidence, and kind of give us just a little background of your story.
Absolutely. And be honest, and then when you get into the part of who gave you your big break, you better be honest about who gave it to you, because
do I have to be honest about my age, or can I lie about my age? Well, I was born in Venezuela, in Caracas, and raised by divorced parents, but I was very fortunate that both of my parents were very loving parents, and I didn't do that well in high school, as most of you can imagine. I was too hyper and just had a lot of ideas going through my head at the same time, and I couldn't really focus on one thing. So my mom actually got me a job working in a restaurant at the age of 16 when I was doing my last year of high school. I think you guys call it summer school here. So I had to, I didn't do that good in math and physics. So she put me to work in a restaurant with a friend of hers, and I just realized that I loved cooking. Something that my grandmother and my dad were really good at. So there's a couple of articles that came out about I was very, very skinny guy with my little hair was like literally part in the middle. And I was there cooking at this restaurant called Primi, which was a really, really well-known Italian restaurant in Caracas. And the owner of the restaurant helped me get a scholarship to go to the CCA, which is the California Culinary Academy in San Francisco. And it was either San Francisco or Paris, Le Cordon Bleu. But my mom said, Adrian, you will love San Francisco. It's a beautiful city, multicultural. As a city, it's a very European city. And she hit it right on the knot because I moved here in 1991 and I fell in love with San Francisco right away. So I was very fortunate to be able to move here. So I went to cooking school and I started liking more the front of the house, which was dealing with people and just dealing with different kinds of personalities and different kinds of cultures and races. And I moved from the kitchen to the front of the house, and I start promoting Latin shows at the restaurants that I was working with to make a little extra income. I would do after 10 o'clock when the restaurant closed, I would do a little party and charge, back then $5-10 was a lot of money in the 90s. And that started working out, and I was making more money doing that than working in the kitchen. So I decided, well, this is working out pretty well for me. And I also get a chance to be more in contact with everybody that's coming to the restaurant, which in the kitchen, you didn't really get that opportunity. Sure. So one thing led to another, and 30 years later, here I am, still producing concerts and festivals and events. And still in the city. And, I mean, those that know me, I'm a big supporter of San Francisco. And I'm just, I want to say that I'm excited for how creative we can get right now moving forward. Everybody says, you know what, I'm out of work. Entertainment business has been affected immensely, which we all know it's true. But I think we have to get out of that mindset and see how we can move forward. And our true entrepreneurship comes out the stronger in times like this. I know Mauricio talks about that a lot. I know Carmen talks about a lot. And I think that's what we have to look forward to. Like, how can I get creative and keep my business going and helping other people at the same time? Because as a promoter, when I do a show, there's security, graphic designers, sound engineers, light engineers, artists, people that work in the venue. So there's literally thousands of people that depend on these concerts that right now are not happening. So how can we get creative and keep our business going? Because this is going to last at least for another 6 months in the entertainment business, I think, if not longer. So there's my introduction to myself. And I'm happy to be here with you guys. So
it's fantastic. I mean, this is why San Francisco fell in love with you. I mean, this is what you bring to the table. And so I'm just happy because I knew some of the details, of course, right? I knew you were from Venezuela, but I didn't realize that it's been 30 years that you've been here, but then I guess we've known each other for 20. So that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I met Mauricio in the late 90s when the Sound Factory opened. And I think Carmen, I'll take it back. Mauricio used to come, I think, to Sol y Luna or to 3, which was even before the Sound Factory. And in the early 90s. I mean, he still looks like he's 25. I look like I'm 50, so I hate him for that. And then Carmen used to come to those clubs back in the days as well. So we've actually known each other, I think, longer than that. And and I was fortunate to meet Mauricio back then because he was hustling just like I was, doing the same thing in the South Bay that I was doing in San Francisco at the same time.
Right. So you were like the counterparts.
Yeah, the counterparts, and we worked with we both had some pretty good I think tutors that kind of guide us to the nightclub and show business. I had Britt Hahn that owned the clubs in San Francisco, and then Mauricio I think had a Harry Evans that did the same thing in the South Bay. So
yeah, we dominated the industry. The story goes like this. I wanted to hear how Adrian was going to tell the story.
When he brings this up,
now I got to tell the truth here. So Adrian and I met each other at 330 Rich when he used to do the Tu Pueblo, or it was Mi Pueblo parties, and then or Tu Pueblo, and then it became Mi Pueblo, or the other way around. Either way,
good memory.
It was my favorite little salsa club. It was very underground feeling. It was packed, and my favorite band was
Avance?
man, no. Not Julio Bravo. There was Julio Bravo. It was another guy. It was a main dude. He was a lead singer.
Tito Rojas.
Oh my God. Tito Rojas. What was you say right now? Tito Rojas. Oh man, he was on fire, man. He was that. So I loved the band. The girl that I was dating at the time, she was a salsa dancer, and we just loved going there all the time. And then I remember I was friends with Billy Vidal. You didn't know Billy at the time, and we went to the Jerry Rivera concert at the Concourse, and that's when I was working with Billy at City Nights. I was running. I was the assistant promotion director. He was promotion director and vice president of MirCorp, and they were working on the transition of buying the Sound Factory. And that's when I told him, I said, "Hey, dude, you want the biggest, the number one salsa promoter in the Bay Area? Adrian is the guy." And he goes, "That guy?" And like we see Adrian walking with these two like hot girls, like one on each arm, and we're like, "Yeah, he looks like a kid, but he's got the hottest women in the whole."
My hair like this. It was my hair like this.
No. You had short hair. I mean, I was like this guy, and we're looking at him like, we're flossing and we're looking all like fly, and this guy just simple Joe with two hot women, and it was smoke and mirrors, right? But it was interesting. From that point is kind of where Adrian, Billy, and I started all working together. And I mean, we can go into some stories because it was like putting three powerhouses together. You had Billy, who was a very creative person, Adrian, who dominated the Latino market, and especially the salsa, and that just dominated. And I was dominating the South Bay. So you put all of us together, and it was just I mean, the Sound Factory days were part of just a lot of our mindset, our minds coming together and just really doing some big promotions together. So it was fun stuff.
Well, thank you, Mauricio, for the introduction with Billy, because I'm still good friends of his, and that actually is what got me starting to do those big mega nightclubs like the Sound Factory with the Conga Room. So that was all. So I appreciate the introduction.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my cut, but
I'm waiting for my book.
Putting us in the same room together, Carmen. I don't know if it was a real good idea, but it makes it good for a comedy show.
We wanted this party. I wanted this party atmosphere as if we were all together in the room. We will at some point get together in the room, but we do have some questions, and we do have some topics to touch on, and I think it's great to sort of establish the rapport and the history, because from the history is what we're going to be able to, leap forward, right? And maybe come up with some solutions or come up with some ideas. And certainly the fact that we can express our viewpoints. We may not all agree on everything. We may agree on some things. We may not agree on anything at all. But the fact that, like, Adrian and I were talking about in the green room, the fact that we're using technology and these tools to have conversations puts us ahead of the game, so to speak, because not everyone is having productive conversations with different viewpoints. I think I'm going to venture to guess we're pretty similar on a lot of things, but if you can't have conversations, how are we ever going to find solutions? In this quandary that we all find ourselves, whatever side of the coin, whatever side of this business, the entertainment business, the rest, food and beverage business, it's hitting everyone really hard. But before we dive into that specific arena, Adrian, why did you? I mean, why? I know that you have this passion for live music, but when you started Jaffe Events, was it always like a really clear-cut vision of what you wanted to do and why? Like, what drives you? You've been doing this for a long time.
You know, I think it's all about, you know, I think it has to do with even me going to cooking school and being able to put a smile on the customer when you give them a product. My biggest high is when I'm on stage and I'm looking down at the crowd and they're having the time of their life. And I think, you know what? I put this together and they're having an amazing time. And I don't care if I lost money or if I made money at the show, but and Mauricio can, but that moment, or if it's a club that you own and you stand there and you go, you know what? These people work hard. They're taking time off. This is the time for me to treat them to a good time from their time off work. You know, you could be a mother with 3 kids and you work 2 jobs, and then that weekend you come because you want to forget about the problems you have at home. And that's my job, is to make sure that you have a great time at one of my shows or one of my events. And that's the biggest satisfaction that I have by doing these concerts and shows. It really is. You know, it's like I can't compare. There's nothing else that makes me more happy than be on the stage and seeing everybody's, you know, face and going, you know, it could be for the artist that I brought, but I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad I brought that artist to perform in front of 100 or in front of 3,000 people. You know, that's my biggest satisfaction of what I do, is that people can have a great time when they're off the day-to-day craziness that we live, you know, in our society. Like, so I think that's why I do it.
And I think that's such a great driving force, what you're describing, because, you know, as a performer, not every promoter, producer comes from that place del corazón. Not everyone. I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. It's a business like any other business, but not everyone has the driving force that's like purely from your heart. And I think when you produce your specific events, it's like everybody's your family. Everybody loves you, and you put that energy out there. So to me, it just feels like it's so natural that it comes back to you. And, you know, I've been to your events, and it's like everybody knows your name, you know, like the whole Cheers thing, right? And to sustain that, to me, of course, there's cost and there's all of that. But when it comes from your heart, I think people know that. And I think the longevity of what you do is based in that realm. You know, there's a lot of promoters and a lot of producers that come and go in a very short period of time.
Oh yeah. I have to say Adrian, what you just said is it's the common denominator for us producers, promoters, operators, club owners, venue owners, whatever it may be. When we get to see the smiles on the people, the satisfaction of the fun and everything that's happening, that really is the high that we get. And of course, we know we're juggling balls there because we also want to make sure that we're breaking even. And that we're covering our expenses, and that we're not asked out, because, you know, we're not in it to lose money, we're in it to win. But there's a lot of perks that come with the industry and what we've done. And Adrian, you know, if you want to share some of those perks, I mean, because, you know, it's the VIP, it's the glamour of being next to the artist, the superstar, you know, it's the behind the scenes. I mean, you know, I know that when we used to do the clubs on Sunday morning, when we'd leave to Vegas, it was 3 days of VIP treatment away from home. And it's just, a lot of people wish they can only imagine the craziness, but exactly.
Hey, I don't know if I can share all of the perks on public social media, but
no. Well, you know, we don't need a soundbite here, but no, I mean, there's a lot more than just that. I mean, but it also feels good because you build a relationship with the artist. I mean, I remember artists that we've had, like the best one that I have is the one with Pitbull. I mean, I used to pay Pitbull $8,000 to come to my shows, and then it got more, and then a little bit more, and then I remember one time it was like, oh, hey man, I can't do your shows anymore. I'm like, why? because it's $250,000. I'm like, but I thought we were friends, you know?
Right.
Oh no, we're still homies, but we can't do business on that level anymore. I'm like, okay, thanks for graduating, you know? But we got to see a lot of that stuff. I mean, even recently with one of the shows that you did where you brought a legendary that, God, we may never see him perform. You know, hopefully we get to see him perform, but the last show you did with Willie Colon.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, one of the perks, Mauricio, is actually that you get to see another side of these celebrities. Like,
is that a perk?
If I'm
is
sorry?
that always a perk?
I think it's a perk because you realize that they're just like you and me. You know, like a lot of times we see a celebrity and we think, you know, that they're from a different planet or they're just. And when you get to meet them backstage, you get to meet them at their hotel, or you take them out for dinner, you realize that they're just like all of us, and that's the job that they do. And sometimes it's somebody that you really admire, or it can be a celebrity, you know, a musician that you've always, you know, listened to since you're 15 years old, and all of a sudden you're having dinner next to him in a restaurant, talking to him like we're talking right now. And I think that's one of the great perks about what we do, you know, is that we get to meet some of these amazing artists on a one-on-one that if I didn't do what I do, there's no way I would be able to do that. I think that's one of my favorite, you know, perks about this. And other ones that I can't really discuss right now, but I can tell you guys in private.
Oh,
Thank you.
Carmen, you see both of us laughing here, huh?
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know what you're laughing about.
Uh-huh.
Remember, I had a whole band of men that I worked with.
Crazy guys.
That is true, Carmen.
So imagine us. We're part of the
like
band.
Fleetwood Mac. You're like Fleetwood Mac, like Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac.
Well, thank you, but
no, I don't mean I want to come. But...
So let's dive into some of the stuff, like, you know, Adrian, because I know that you have your fingers and your pulse on San Francisco, the San Francisco entertainment. Not only that, but you and I had a lot of big plans for this year prior to COVID, this whole lockdown. I mean, we had 3 hotels. We had San Francisco, we had Hollywood, we had Miami. We were working on our big festival. We had a lot of things that we had lined up, and we're very excited. We had a bunch of concerts that we were going to be working on. How do you see, you know, how are you taking this whole COVID situation, and what's your perspective of it? You know, and I know you touched on it earlier, but let's dive into it a little bit more because, you know, how do you see yourself coming out of this thing, you know, with the challenges that you're facing?
Well, you know, as you know, everything in our business has completely stopped since March 15th. So, you know, any kind of live music venue, concert venue, hotels, festivals, you know, any kind of live music events have stopped completely. So, you know, that said, the only thing that we have left to be able to produce any kind of show is through the internet, you know, through social media.
Right.
And that's something that we just have to, as much as, you know, some people might not like the fact that it's not live, we don't have other choices. So we have to go with what we have. You know, it's a learning process. You know, it's still something that, you know, I've seen some shows that have just not come through because it's not pre-recorded, it's live. They have, you know, internet connections, or the sound, the audio doesn't work out very well. But there's a lot more platforms out there that are starting to do these, you know, online stream concerts, because I think this is going to last for at least, you know, 6 months to a year till things get back to normal, especially for our industry. So, you know, Mauricio, to answer your question, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about, you know, online stream concerts, and I think everybody in my business should do the same thing. You know, starting with the entertainers and the artists, they need to really start looking at that as a way that they can actually make some kind of revenue, because there's no, you know, traveling has stopped. So if you're from another country to travel, you know, even, you know, some of the states, like you can't go to Hawaii, other states you can't even get into. So they're gonna have to just look at, you know, at doing online concerts. I think that's where it's heading. I mean, I get a weekly newsletter from Live Nation, which is one of the biggest, you know, national concert promoters, and they have a full-on calendar of online stream concerts that they're doing. Some of them are
Right.
free, and some of them you have to pay for. But that's where it's headed. That's where it's headed.
You worked on the Carnaval show. Give us a little example of that, because that was something that was you worked with our group on that, with Latin Live and a couple other people. You know, share that experience, because that was you did it's like an online festival.
Yeah. So you know, Carnival is a nonprofit. So they depend on sponsors. They depend on donations. It's one of the largest, actually one of the largest festivals in the country. They have about 250,000 people that attend Carnival, you know, in the 2 days that it happens in San Francisco. This year, of course, it wasn't you know, it's on Memorial Weekend, and you know, this year they could not do Carnival. So we talked to the founder, not to the founder, but to the current director, who's Roberto Hernandez, and Roberto has done a lot to feed a lot of you know, Latinos in the mission area, but a lot of them are out of work and really need food, which is amazing to think that
Right.
people still need to, you know, have a meal in front of them today in 2020. So this year's goal for Roberto was to feed 6,000 families in the mission. And we approached them and we said, how can we help you to make this possible? What about if we do an online concert and get about 8 different bands, you know, different kinds of music, everything from Brazilian to rock en español, to salsa, to Latin pop, to reggaeton. And we basically produced, you know, it was for free, but people could give out donations. And it was, you know, it was an hour-and-a-half concert that happened, and we had everybody from Mayor London Breed to, you know, all kinds of different hosts in between the artists. And we worked with a company that was able to put all of these bits of these recordings that the bands did to make it look like a festival, like you just said. And it, you know, and it actually worked out pretty well. We were able to raise a good amount of money, and we were also the main thing was to give awareness of what they were trying to do, which was feed those 6,000 families. I think we had about 30,000 views for that Carnival event, and you know, we were able to raise a good amount of money for them. So it worked out really well. We're really happy with the results, and that was the first real kind of online stream concert that I ever produced. And you know, and there's some challenges, but I think you just have to learn as you go. You know, this is you know, we're learning as we go, right? Every day with what's going on. So.
Right. Well done. Good job. I mean, you and I were talking in the green room earlier that, you know, once upon a time, I feel like everyone was saying, oh, you know, this is going to be a few months. This is going to be the end of the year. There's nothing left. You know, we're not going to do anything in 2020. But I feel like there was a lot of people that didn't quite believe that. And now the reality, here we are, right? March 15th, tomorrow, July 15th. And there doesn't seem to be the light at the end of the tunnel that I think in saying that, we all wanted it to not be true. And now I think we are facing the reality that it really 2020 is truly done, right? You were saying that some producers are thinking not even at the beginning of 2021. Is that correct?
I think this year is done with, to be honest. I mean, you know, we just heard Gavin Newsom again on yesterday, you know, closed down a lot of restaurants and bars that were open outside of San Francisco. So every time that happens, you know, we're phase 4. I think we're in phase 2B. So, right. I mean, we're talking about November, December, the soonest. And if things keep getting worse, I think that's not going to happen this year, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so you know, that said, we just have to like figure it out, and we just have to like think positive, and we just have to like get creative. We have to get, as we were talking about earlier, Carmen, we have to just get creative, and then you know, and entrepreneurship has to come out strong right now. It really has to come out strong, and we have a lot of smart people in that business in the Bay Area, so we have to just get together and see how we can make it work.
Right. Well, solutions, right? Solution-based discussions. Do you have some ideas, Mauricio and Adrian? I mean, I know, when it's 2:00 in the morning and my mind is racing, I'm trying to think of things. How could we do things? You mentioned earlier with artists looking at this, this platform, these types of platforms, there are some advantages for artists to take control of their music, because if you're creating new music now and your contracts are expired with the labels, now you have an opportunity as an artist to look at things from a different perspective. And we're watching artists, perform in their homes, from their homes. And so there's some opportunities that could develop in a different way that could change the industry even further than what the changes that we've seen in the past.
I'm mute. Yeah,
Are
muted
you? Oh,
party going on over there.
What's happening?
Sorry, guys. I just had some guests walk into my apartment.
Are you moving out right now, bro?
It's happy hour. It's happy hour somewhere every day. You know what, Carmen? The beauty about online is that you can reach people anywhere in the world. So if the artist has a fan in Japan or in Argentina, they can reach them right away. So that's I think where it's going to be headed right now with all of these shows. Yeah. I've seen some shows where they charge $3, some shows where they charge $6. But if you have 1 million followers on social media and doesn't matter where they live in the world, there's a big opportunity right now for that. So I think that's where they have, we have to just take advantage of social media like we really do more than ever. So what do you think, Mauricio?
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I mean, that's why we're working on I'm working now on 3 other shows now. We're doing we're going to start doing some retro stuff, some music stuff. And then I'm working on with my company, with Latin Live, we're doing, we're going to start that process of doing the interviews with artists. I mean, we have to stay relevant. And the only way to stay relevant is by promotion and marketing. And right now, the only tools that we have, or the only way we have a way to connect with the people that we know, is through social media, because there is no, we're not doing the events like we used to. I mean, before we throw the big events, we run into everybody, everyone's excited, and we see them at the next event or the next party, and so forth. So right now, we got to continue to stay relevant, and that's where the strong survive. Even in our industry, it's the survival of the fittest. You stay relevant in the game because you stay consistent with your brand, you stay consistent with the way you do business. Just like anything, any type of strategy, and it goes back to our conversations here, and building that confidence internally and with our groups, and having that strategy, is that we have to stay consistent with whatever we do. We have to continue to follow through, and whether it's online right now or some kind of gimmick that we have to weather this storm until we get into calmer situations, and that's what's going to make us successful. I mean, right now, there's not too many people that are staying creative. I mean, New York, Las Vegas. I mean, I'm surprised that Las Vegas is not doing too many creative things with all the money and power that they had in the entertainment industry. You're not really hearing much about them, but you're seeing all these, the people that, like these, for example, like Carnaval. I mean, that was amazing to put together an online festival that still raised money for a cause. I mean, you have other DJs and you have people that are doing things that are raising money for causes, but we as the local promoters need to really step up and provide that entertainment for our communities, and I think that's really what we're doing, whether it's a talk show or whether it's, a mix. A lot of the DJs, when the COVID thing kicked in, the DJs took to putting music. And then right now, one of our good friends, Alex Mejia is putting together a coalition to tell Facebook and all these big companies to lean on the pressure of, or on the get lenient a little bit on the music, because they're dropping people right in the middle of, we're trying to express happiness and put joy out there and positive energy, whether it's through music, art, or some kind of conversation. But if we're getting cut out because, obviously the record labels are it's about money, these are the times where we all need to learn, and we need to get creative. And this is where the real entrepreneurs in the entertainment industry will succeed, because we have to think outside the box. And that's what got us to be successful in the industry first was because we're outside the box thinkers. We think of creative ways to bring people in, to lure them in, to create that smoke and mirror. And that's why
Right.
my book Smoke and Mirrors was created, was because we created that smoke and mirror illusion. And no, Adrian, I already know what you're gonna say.
Where's my book?
Adrian always has to say, "Oh, you have to always give a plug on your book, right?" How many times? But that's the reason why I wrote it.
We're thinking it.
That's why I wrote it, because it's, it's perfect title for our industry. We create that illusion, the smoke and mirrors. It's, Adrian, you said it best. When that hardworking mom or family, wants to get out and get their mind off of the craziness. What do? They go out and they entertain themselves, whether it's a circus, a concert, something that's family oriented, or where it's individually. We're the magicians that create that environment for them, and what better satisfaction but to see people smile and enjoy it and come out and say, "Oh my God, that was a great show," blah blah blah. That's exciting.
Yeah, the other thing, Mauricio, that we've been talking with a lot of the artists, and is the concept of revenue sharing. And what I mean about revenue sharing is that we have to all work together because we're all on the same boat. And a lot of times the promoter takes a big hit because he has to pay the artist a certain amount of money that's guaranteed, and the show might do that well, but the artist still gets paid the amount that's guaranteed. Or the venue that you do the show, they want to get a rental, and the show can have 100 or 1,000 people. You have to pay that amount. The good thing about shows online is that the artist doesn't have to travel with 20 people and pay for airline, transportation, hotels, per diem. So that cost is out the window. So there's a big opportunity for all of us to make money together. And that's something that we've kind of been talking a lot about with booking agents is, let's do these shows online. Let's split a percentage and we all win. If the show has 50,000 views, we make this much. If the show has 10,000 views, we make this much. And I think that's going to happen also in the restaurant business. We have heard that, even with tips, that they're sharing the tips with the kitchen people that work in the kitchens, because, so everybody works together, and I think it's just a healthier way to work to begin with. So that's something interesting also that's come out of this, these times that we're living through.
Right.
So.
Well, again, like anything, right? Anything that's going to force major changes, there's going to be the downside, but then there's going to be the upside. And if working together and taking care of one another is an upside, at least there is an upside.
Right.
I mean, for me, I'm not trying to just be Pollyanna all the time, but I do look for the positive, and I want to live in that realm of whatever it is that's happening. And so I think when you do that, there's a certain freedom when you are trying to find the positive. Now, you can choose to live in the negative, and it's been my experience by observation, and even it's happened to me in the past in certain situations where if you're only looking for the negative, that's where you're going to reside. So I've never seen great ideas that are really about taking care of one another come from a place of just that, oh, poor me, poor me. I think when you start thinking about other people, when you start thinking about the good that you want to do in the world, in spite of a bad situation or just a challenge that's happening, I think that's when the world and that's when our communities benefit the most. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's this chance for things to really be very, very different in a positive way. And, I'm thinking about, of course, some of the way back in the days before the huge venues and before the huge concerts, there were home concerts. There were smaller venues that were really intimate where artists could really focus on their music and the art of it, as opposed to how many seats do I have to fill to pay this and to pay that. It's a different way to be creative. It's a different way to be a performer. It's a different way when you are in a smaller venue. And I think that if we, like the DJs, Mauricio, you mentioned that they have this coalition, right, to try to accomplish something. I guess my question would be: are our local promoters and our booking agents here in the Bay Area? Is there a coalition of some sort that's happening now?
Yeah, you have the you have the entertainment committee for the nightlife entertainment zone. That's a version of it for the venues. Is there? Are you specifically asking more for the groups or?
Well, no, I'm just curious. I'm just wondering if there's a group of promoters, for example, that are trying to get together and discuss ideas like you just presented, Adrian. Is there?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, there is actually. We've been talking we've been talking online with different Zoom meetings with artists and promoters actually, and venue owners and hotel managers about how can we work together and try to create some new ideas and some new ways of making revenue. I mean, we have to all survive. We live in the most expensive city in the country with the highest taxes. Most of my artists that are friends are all out of work. So we're trying, but it's not that easy. I mean, it's all we have is the internet, and that's all we can do right now. So we have to try to find ways how we can, maximize, this tool that we have.
Sure, absolutely.
Like I said earlier, like it's all going to head towards online streaming and everything for comedians. I mean, I've seen chefs do like their own cooking shows. I've seen. I mean, everybody's doing everything online, and that's where it's heading. I mean, Mauricio does a couple of summits every week with different guests, and you guys do your show. I'm part of another show called Comidazo that we also talk about maneuvering through COVID-19, and we try to touch all the different aspects of the hospitality entertainment business. Fashion, hotels, restaurants. We had a guy that does cruise ships and parties on cruise ships, and of course his business is paralyzed as well until things reopen. So I mean, there's a lot more people affected by this that we even think about until we start talking to friends of ours that work in this business. Oh, you're like, oh, you're right. You're right. You actually do transportation for concerts, or you transport, sound for big festivals, and all these people are affected right now. So we have to just, like I said, we have to just get creative. We have to get creative and get creative and get creative. I mean, we can sit at a home and have we can have a bottle of wine every day for happy hour. And then cry ourselves to sleep and say, "Oh, times suck," but that's not going to solve anything. We have to just, we have to just see, okay, how can I make this better, and how can I take advantage of the tools that I have? And I think that's where we're at. So.
Yeah, I would vote for you, Adrian.
You know what? I think I'm taking Mauricio's taking notes, so next time he has a show, he can use the same words I just used. Yeah. Mauricio, these are all registered. All these words are registered. Okay?
Yeah. No. Don't get me started, man. Don't get me started. One of the things that Adrian, I think that it's going to happen is that we are going to have to really get creative and get focus on on creating these platforms or having these opportunities with music. I shared an idea with you yesterday. I mean, one of your greatest events was the Conga Room. Bringing back something like that online, like where we do the Conga Room online, or we do the Conga Room live, where we do, there's a lot of different things. Maybe we can do our own virtual concert where we do the Conga Room, and I'm partners with you now because that's my idea. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. But yeah, we come up. I think that those are the opportunities we have to maximize on, and we have to capitalize off of it because there's been a lot of, we have to go back to the basics. We have to go back to the roots. And instead of reinventing the wheel, let's just use what we've had in the past and roll it out. Because I know for a fact, that there would be a hit. The people are at home right now. And even trying to think that people are going to come out for a show. I mean, this is it's not happening. It's not, it's different for a show than going out to the beach. I mean, people come out in waves to go get the hell out of the house and go to the beach, like you've seen on the TVs. To get people to come out to a concert is going to be it's going to be a hard sell. Because you
Right.
You know,
got
the one thing about Mauricio, that we've kind of have learned as we go is that you got to give the consumer something different than just a show online. And why did I say that? Because you can go online and watch a Willie Colon concert on YouTube. Okay,
Right.
so some people say, well, I'm going to spend $5 if I can go online and see my favorite songs that I like of him on YouTube. So what we're trying to create here is more of a one-on-one connection between the artists and their fans. How do you do that? The artist sings some songs he's never sing before. Just
Oh, Adrian, you muted. Hold on. What happened?
oh, sorry. Maybe So as I was saying, that maybe the artist gets to share some songs or does a new song on at that specific concert. Maybe you can download some music from the artist.
Right.
You can do some meet and greet. You can do some Q&A with the artist. We gotta make it personal because we are losing that live factor which people love. That's not there anymore. So we have to see how we can engage the viewer with their favorite artists, to make it interesting and fun for them. And
a whole new experience.
And a whole new experience. So,
yeah.
Mauricio, what are your thoughts?
I'm just bothered that we're back into this. We're back into closure again. It's just I don't know. We just got to power through this. I do see a lot of great opportunities coming out of all of this. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, we talked about this too, Adrian. We went and signed a lease on another restaurant. There's going to be a lot of opportunities during these times. We're not out there, looking for these things. They're happening because it's an opportunity. Now, you just gotta. This is where, again, the entrepreneurship and the skill set jumps in, where you have to really understand and how to utilize your techniques, your experiences, and how to negotiate so you can navigate through these times. Because these times are happening, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean stop living your life. It means just pivot. You got to adapt. You're not going to stop being the Latino promoter of the Bay Area. You just got to get creative and finding other ways to do it. Just like I'm not going to stop being an entrepreneur or a business owner. We're just going to find solutions. I always tell people that I mentor, when you come at me with a problem, come at me with two solutions with one problem. That way we're having a constructive conversation. If you think that you're just going to come and dump on me and just give me your thought and your problem with no solution other than just a complaint, that's going to turn me off really quick. And I just don't want to do business or do anything with that person because there was no solution oriented backing on it. So it's just no different than with us in the entertainment industry. We got to be able to get creative and not go complain. Like right now, some of these venues, venues that there's a perfect opportunity possibly where you use a venue as a staging to do an online concert. The stage is empty. You can do social distancing. You can do social distancing on the venue because the stages are big. So let's find those partnerships. Let's get creative. I think now we're going to have to get more creative because it's real. They just shut down California again. Yeah. And it's not like we were opening up the bars and the clubs and all that again, but it's people are going to get forced to stay home again. So,
one thing that go ahead. Sorry, Carmen.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. One thing I just saw that was actually talk about being creative is the whole drive-in movie theater concerts that they're starting to do. Which you would never imagine 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago, that you'll be driving in your car and then on stage there'll be a performer that you're watching from your car with 4 of your friends or your family. And that just shows how creative people can get. I was confused in the beginning of how they were doing these shows, and what they were doing is for some of the larger artists, because they can't make enough revenue from just one drive-in, is that they're filming this and they're showing the concert in 10 other drive-in theaters like a movie. So so which is genius. And I think that's the positive side of what's going on, that people just get really creative, when times are, different or difficult. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
I saw something very similar. I think they're doing it on the river or some river, either in London or Paris, and everyone in their boat, just gets moored or whatever they're doing. They're drop anchor, and there's a screen in front of them, and there's a live performance, and it's also shown on the big screen, and everyone's having a great time because they're on their own little island in the water.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's what
interesting.
I mean, it's really exciting to see that this is possible, and it just kind of like, okay, cool. Like, these are ideas. Let's riff off of that. Let's launch off of that. Let's make it better. Let's do something really cool. I think that there are, like you said, a lot of possibilities. And at the end of the day, as promoters and booking agents and venues, even if the state were to open, you have to look at who's your client, who's your clientele. Are they the ones that are going to come out? And
right.
If not, you've got to create those solutions for the people that you want to keep in your in your list of guests. Because if they're not coming out, and let's say you've got a promoter who's really steeped really deeply in the 20-year-old world, they might have a totally different idea than those of us that are in our 40s and 50s. Right? Like, right. You've got to come up with the solutions for your demographic.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that you can't borrow and modify for what you need to do.
Well, that's where we're heading. That's no, but it's interesting you say that, because when I brought up the drive-in concept to Fulanito and Tito Puente Jr. yesterday, they said, that sounds great, but salsa music, when you see a salsa band, you want to get up and dance. You can't dance from your car. So each genre of music is going to be a little bit different of how you approach it, with right. this new norm that we're going through. So,
well, they started with EDC. I don't know if you saw right. the how they're doing it. So they're blocking out like 2 car spaces. So you bring a car, and then you have your space next to you, your cutout space where you can rave out by yourself. Which again, they're really trying to create to duplicate the past environment, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, when you're in a big concert, you want to feel the energy of the crowd. You want to be into this madre. You want to be in, like, it's like trying to do a mosh pit with 4 guys or 4 people when the mosh pit is like, it's a mass, it doesn't work sometimes, but some things will work and some things won't work. So it's
trial and error, right? Yeah.
It's just a matter of trial and error. So that's really what we're going through right now. These last 4 months have been, and I got to give it to all the promoters, all the event coordinator, everyone that's out there that's trying. We're trying to get creative with some of our things. Some things make sense and some things just don't make sense, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to invest in an opportunity and make a return on our investment. So we're not just going to go experiment, with just any idea because it might not work. And right now too, people are having to make a decision whether it's food on their table or a concert, So it's really, people's values are being tested during these times, and we have to really respect that. And that's why I agree with your idea, Adrian, where if you can find a partnership with a group where we can come together and do a profit sharing, where, let's say we get people from around the world, and instead of filling up a 15,000 person venue, we're doing 60,000, 80,000 people, and 80,000 people can pay $2-3.
It adds up quick.
Do the math, because now you don't have to pay the arena, you don't have to pay the concessions, you don't have to pay the insurance, you don't have to. Now it's not as much, but it's something, and it keeps the people and the artists and everyone relevant. And that's really what we're trying to do. I mean, people ask me, Mauricio, why did you guys keep Chachos open for so long? Because if we close our doors down and call it quits, then we'll die on the vine. But if we're gonna go down, we're gonna go down with a fighting chance. We're gonna give it all we got, and at the same time make sure that we run our numbers, because numbers don't lie. you cover your expenses, you cover your cost.
Right.
You might not be able to make anything out of it, but we have to navigate through these treacherous waters right now. And that's the bottom line. COVID-19 has come in and destroyed a multi-billion-dollar industry completely, worldwide, globally. I mean, you talk about artists from all the yearly festivals around the world, all the concerts, and not only that, but then it trickles down, all the hotels, all the restaurants, all the airlines, all the employees. I mean, this has put a dent in the world, and the recovery of this is going to be, it's going to be very interesting to see how quick we can recover from this. And I honestly, I see us starting in 2021, but I don't see us fully recovering. And I want to be realist, because we know how long it takes to promote events. It takes a minimum to do 6 months just to get one event going, a festival, 3 months, or maybe even 6 to 8 weeks to get a concert going, like when we do any event, because we want to make sure we sell out because there's so much competition. Imagine that if to do one festival, it takes 6 months. To do 5 festivals, 6 times 5, you start doing the math. So we're looking at the damage is done for a long time.
Yeah.
It's done. It's to get back to recovery. I mean, it took 10 years for Las Vegas to get back on track, and then all of a sudden, boom, we get hit again.
Our friend Tony O just had a good comment. He said that a lot of artists have contracts with some of these venues already for this year. So what happens is that, how will the venue react if we did a concert with the artist online when they have a date scheduled with the venue that didn't happen? So that it goes back to revenue share, and you got to bring the venue in on board with the artist, with the promoter, and with everybody else to make it work. Because if not, guess what? Nobody's making money till next year, and that's the sad reality of what we're going through.
Right.
So, and Adrian, I know that we want to be respectful of your time, and you have clearly you have some guests, but just on this last note, you and I were also talking backstage about the psychological component of this, not just for the attendees, but for the artists, where when an artist is really, you need that energy from a live audience that fuels your soul and it fuels your art, and you're not getting it now. All of these conversations that are happening, it's so important, because there's going to be not just financial long-term issues like Mauricio pointed out, but there's emotional, spiritual, psychological components to all of this that's going to require a great deal of healing for quite a while.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because the same is happening with sporting events. Imagine being a soccer player and you play in front of 30,000 people, and then that energy gets you going. Now you're playing in front of an empty stadium against 11 other guys. I mean, yeah, you're still playing the sport, but you don't have that energy that the fans give to you to keep going for, in any sport, basketball, football, baseball. I mean, so to your point, I mean, psychologically, like, it's going to be really interesting how these, artists or even athletes are going to be able to handle this. They're playing in front of an empty stadium, which is crazy to think about, But you know what, Carmen? We have to get creative. And if we have no other options, which right now we don't have, you have to go with what you have and see how you can make it work. And that's all we can do.
I know. Thanks. So. Yeah, agreed. I think we all agree on that. So that's a good note. And, thank you, Adrian, for
thank you guys.
Spending this whole hour with us today. We really appreciate it. And please, enjoy the rest of your evening. But before you go, how do people connect with you? How do they learn about what you're up to next?
Well, we have some shows that we're working for in August with actually Mauricio is part of it with Latin Live. We're talking to some regional Mexican artists, some huge regional Mexican artists. We're talking about to some salsa artists and also to some Cuban artists. And once we can confirm these shows, it will be up on my website, which is jaffeevents.com. That's JAFFE events.com. We're looking at probably middle to end of August, to be honest. But hopefully we get some of these shows. We want to try a few, and if it works out, we can do a lot more. Like I said, it's a learning process. So one day at a time.
Yes,
I think what's happening, guys. Yeah, one of the things that's happened now too, Adrian, is that remember that all the smaller promoters that can't weather this out, they fall off, and the guys like you and I and others that can still weather the storm will come out ahead. Again, we're not knocking them, but we're just saying that this is where experience, this is where our entrepreneurship spirit kicks in, and this is where we really where we thrive. So on these down markets is when you and I are sharpening, and others that are out here. I have a friend of mine, Brian Cadbury, who's on here. Brian, thank you for tuning in.
Hey, Brian, good old
Brian
friend.
Cadbury was an amazing, is an amazing human being, and was an amazing promoter in San Francisco. He used to do the Remedy parties, and he worked with an amazing group. And those guys, there's some parties that have still stuck in that still are around, and some parties that they just grow out because they've been around for so long, and that was one of those parties. So again, I think we just have to continue to sharpen our skill set and get ready for when the opportunity gets better, because it will get better. Nothing in life, guys, is forever. We know that.
Right.
Nothing good and nothing bad is forever. So life is about peaks and valleys, and this is not the last time this planet has had a pandemic or this kind. It's just been one now where we have social media.
We're in it.
And we're in it right now, and we're going to power through this nonsense. And we hope that people stay safe out there. And really, I guess that's what their concerns are, is that they want to make sure people are safe.
Right.
I hope in my heart of hearts that there's some authenticity coming from our leaders out there that are pushing on these kind of rules and regulations on our community and our world, because it's really the aftermath of what we're going through right now is it's gonna be big. So
Yes.
good, Adrian. Great having you, man. Well,
Carmen, we'll share some stories with you in private later. Thank you, guys. This was a lot of fun, and you know what?
Yeah.
Let's just not give up. Let's just be creative, and let's just work with what we have. That's all we can do. So
exactly. And we also want to thank everyone who tunes in with us, who tunes in. And Melissa Bentz is on, Veronica's been on, I see Ricardo's been on. So everyone, thank you so much. I think I saw my friend Susie Bertolozzi. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that we are inspiring you in some way. And, again, thank you, Adrian, for spending your time. And I know it's just as valuable as if we weren't in this crisis. So thank you.
It's been fun. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye, Adrian. And we'll see you all next week. And hopefully, there you are. I was like, what happened?
What happened here? I don't know. It just all of a sudden it just clicked off. Technology. That's what happens with technology. If it's not one thing, it's another thing. So anyhow, great show tonight, Carmen. I think that it was a good call with Adrian. I love Adrian. I love his perspective, and he understands the industry very well, because he's dominated that space for a very long time. We all understand from that we're all going through some crazy times. I mean, we had a lot of events planned out. I've been out of the scene for some time, but I still stay relevant. I still do my parties every once in a while, the ones that I like to do because I want to do, not because I depend on them.
Right.
And that's what makes it fun. So it's in my heart and in my blood to do those events. So I pray for all my industry people out there. I know the struggles. I know that it's I know because like anything, I've had great years in my entertainment industry, and I've had years where I'm just like, man, I cannot have a great idea come out of me, but when I hit them, I hit them out of the ballpark, and then they bring me back up. So anyhow, good.
And I think this was really good to have this conversation, Mauricio, because it's not in any way, shape, or form diminishing the loss of life that we've had. I lost 2 friends in the last week and a half to this situation, and it's heartbreaking. But we also have to look at the other side of, like you said, we have to go forward. We have to figure this out as much as we can, and also help those that rely on us and are looking for ideas, or maybe they're not even just looking for ideas, but they're just looking for some positivity, and like Adrian said, we've got to keep moving forward. Let's help everyone whenever we can. And let's just do what we do the best that we can do it in the times that we have.
That's it. That's all we can do.
That's it.
Well,
so
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Thank
awesome.
you,
Look, we broke an hour like nothing again. I'm telling you that it's after a while you just start blasting through time. I mean, and again, I want to thank everyone that joined us tonight and continues to join us and continues to watch the show.
Wait, I have to show you Melissa's Melissa's comment.
Yeah, I know. Uh-huh.
We're like, oh.
Yeah.
The show goes
on. Believe it or not, I'm a notorious person for ghosting people. I know how to do it pretty well. I'm like, I'll be right back, and then I'll just ghost because I already know that if I stay any longer, we're gonna get into some serious problems here. So I'm very notorious for that. So thank you, Melissa, for calling me out on that one. So
all right then. So
well, good.
You heard it here, everybody. We'll see you next week. Yep, next week is going to be another great friend and a business partner of mine. His name is Mr. TC, Too Cool Coleman. I cannot talk today, but he's another world-class drummer who played for over 30 years with Mr. B.B. King, and he's got the gift of gab. So I know that we'll probably break another hour next week with Tony, but it'll be fun.
Have him set up his drum set so that way, if he wants to impromptu, he can throw a little, quick little, just something cool. You never know. I think it'd be cool.
You never know. But yeah, just, until then, please check out our first 12 weeks on YouTube and like and share. We really appreciate all your comments. We appreciate you all being with us, and we'll see you next week.
Perfect.
Thanks again. Have a good night. Bye, everybody.